Picture a warm summer day at Versailles, the legendary palace outside Paris. On an August afternoon in 1901, two English academics, Eleanor Jourdain and Charlotte Ann Moberly, found themselves at the heart of a mystery. As they wandered the gardens, the world seemed to shift. Sounds faded, the air thickened, and figures in old-fashioned dress appeared. These women, both serious scholars, would later claim they'd stepped into the past, witnessing scenes from the era of Marie Antoinette. Their experience became one of history's most debated ghost stories. Unlike fleeting glimpses of shadows, their encounter was vivid and shared, a journey into a world that felt real, yet profoundly wrong. The bustling tourist site seemed to drain of life, replaced by a melancholic landscape. Their story, known as the Moberly-Jourdain affair, has fascinated generations. Were they witnesses to a time slip, or was there a rational explanation? The setting was crucial, not the grand palace, but the secluded gardens of the Petit Trianon, Marie Antoinette's private sanctuary. Here, history's echoes would blur the line between past and present.
Things you only talk about at the back of the cave.
To grasp this mystery, you need to know the women at its center. Charlotte Ann Moberly, principal of St. Hugh's College, and Eleanor Jourdain, vice principal, were respected Oxford academics, grounded in logic, not fantasy. Pioneers in women's education, they approached their strange experience with academic rigor, questioning memories and searching for evidence. Their credibility is why their story endures. These were not women seeking fame, but scholars confronting the inexplicable. Their story is as much about the limits of reason as it is about the supernatural. On August 10, 1901, Moberly and Jourdain set out to find the Petit Trianon. As they walked, the world grew silent and dreamlike. The gardens felt deserted, the air heavy. Lost in overgrown woods, they met two men in old-fashioned uniforms who pointed them onward. A cloaked man nearby filled them with dread. They hurried past, feeling watched. The scenery grew stranger, crossing a rustic bridge, hearing faint music, and feeling overwhelming melancholy. Every detail suggested they were no longer in 1901. Their stroll had become a journey into another time. Near the Petit Trianon, the encounters grew stranger. They saw a woman and child in period dress, frozen like figures in a painting. A young man rushed out, urgently directing them in French. Then, on the grass, Moberly saw a lady sketching, fair-haired, in a light dress and white hat. Moberly felt an uncanny connection, convinced she'd seen Marie Antoinette herself. The woman's sad, distant expression became the emotional core of their story. Jourdain sensed her presence, even if she didn't see her clearly. The entire scene felt like a memory replaying itself. A man in archaic dress appeared, guiding them to the house. As they entered, the spell broke. The oppressive atmosphere vanished, and normal sounds returned. The strange figures and melancholy garden were gone. They were back in their own time, left with only questions. The experience would haunt them for years. Why did Moberly and Jourdain believe they'd seen Marie Antoinette? The Petit Trianon was her sanctuary, a place to escape court life and play at simplicity. She transformed its gardens, even building a model village, the Queen's Hamlet. For Marie Antoinette, it was a refuge from the pressures and tragedies of royalty. The date of the women's visit, August 10th, was the anniversary of the 1792 storming of the Tuileries, which ended the monarchy. The sadness the women felt echoed the Queen's despair on that fateful day. The figures they saw fit the historical context: a pockmarked courtier, a frantic messenger, and the queen herself. The Petit Trianon was the heart of her private world. If any place held her memory, it was here. The women's vision seemed to capture a final, sorrowful moment before history changed forever. Their encounter was more than a ghost story. It was a brush with the emotional residue of a vanished world. At first, Moberly and Jourdain didn't discuss their experience. Only later did they realize both had sensed something extraordinary. They wrote separate accounts, finding striking similarities and puzzling differences. Treating it like a research project, they dug into Versailles' history. Old maps revealed features they'd seen, like a vanished bridge, not present in 1901, but shown on 18th century plans. Records confirmed green uniforms and even Marie Antoinette sketching near the Trianon before August 10, 1792. In 1911, they published their findings as using pseudonyms to protect their reputations. The book caused a sensation, laying out their experience and supporting evidence. Critics questioned inconsistencies, but the women stood by their story. They returned to Versailles, but never found the same path or atmosphere again. The landscape had changed, the mysterious features were gone. For them, it was proof they'd glimpsed a lost world. Their investigation became as legendary as the event itself. The Moberly-Jourdain affair sparked two main paranormal theories. The first, a time slip where the past briefly overlaps the present, allowing people to step into history. The women didn't see ghosts, but lived a moment from the 18th century. The second, psychic residue, emotional events imprint themselves on a place, replayed for sensitive observers. The overwhelming sadness they felt could be Marie Antoinette's despair echoing through time. Skeptics, however, offer simpler explanations. Perhaps the women stumbled onto a costume party or theatrical event. Robert de Montesquieu was known for such gatherings at Versailles. Fatigue, unfamiliar surroundings, and language barriers could have led to misinterpretation. Psychological factors, shared delusion, suggestibility, or memory distortion may have shaped their story. Critics note their memories grew more detailed after research, suggesting unconscious embellishment. The debate remains, was it a supernatural event or a case of mistaken perception? The mystery endures because both explanations have merit. The truth may lie somewhere in between. The debate over what happened at Versailles remains compelling. Supporters of the paranormal point to the women's credibility and the historical details they couldn't have known. The emotional intensity of their experience, shared melancholy and oppression, seems hard to fake. Their reluctance to publish suggests sincerity, not a hoax. Yet skeptics argue the costume party theory is plausible, and language barriers could explain misunderstandings. Discrepancies in their accounts and the evolution of their memories point to the unreliability of recollection. As their book was revised, new details emerged, perhaps shaped by research, not memory. In the end, we're left with a classic mystery. Trust the testimony of credible witnesses or accept a series of coincidences and errors? The story endures because it resists easy answers. It's a puzzle that invites us to question what we know about time, memory, and reality. The ghosts of Versailles remain an enigma. Over a century later, the ghosts of Versailles still captivate us. The Petit Trianon is now a place of legend, its paths haunted by mystery. The story blends scholarly rigor with supernatural wonder, challenging our ideas about time and memory. Was it a slip in time or the mind's response to a place steeped in history? The Moberly-Jourdain affair reminds us that history isn't just in books, it lingers in the world around us. Their journey forces us to confront the limits of perception and the power of belief. Whether real or imagined, their experience haunts our imagination. The palace keeps its secrets, and the events of that August afternoon may never be fully explained. Sometimes the past is closer than we think, waiting for someone to take a wrong turn in a garden,